Welcome back. Hope you enjoyed that quick break. Coming up next, she's a company director since 1999, has delivered leadership and management development programs and consultancy services to a global client base for over 25 years. Her clients include organizations in the legal services sector, banking and finance, food and drink commodities, and armed forces and the public sector. She's going to be talking about ethical leadership styles, and she is the leadership coach and has worked with IFL Education Team as a guest lecturer for many, many times. Please welcome Sarah Brooks.
Thank you very much, Rob. Okay.
How you doing, Sarah?
I'm doing all right, thank you. I've recently returned back from holidays about 2 hours ago, so this is my first piece of work since I got back.
Well, where'd you go?
We went to the south coast of England, to Devon and Cornwall.
Wonderful. Well, welcome back. You're energized. You're ready to go. You've got 30 minutes. Again, you can field some questions through the chat box for Sarah, and she'll get to them as best she can. And I'll leave it over to you, Sarah, for the next 30 minutes.
Thanks very much, Rob. Okay, so as mentioned, I have been training leadership and management for over 25 years now, and I've certainly seen a shift, a change in those 25 years. And now what we're trying to do is really get leaders and managers to think about the way that they lead and the style in which they lead, to make it an ethical environment in which people can work. So a quick skip through ethical leadership. Half an hour isn't very long. What I'm going to cover, first of all, we're going to have a think about the impact that effective and ineffective leadership behaviours can have on us and on the teams that we manage. I'm going to define ethical leadership for you so you can get to grips with it and understand what it is, and how we then bring emotional intelligence into the leadership role. We'll have a look at how we balance the controls that we put in place to manage our people and the freedom that we give them, and how we get that balance right, which is a really tricky thing to do. And then finally, how we create an environment in which our people can thrive. So let's begin by thinking about your experience of being led and managed. So if you wouldn't mind, if you can stick your chat boxes on for me, I'm wanting to get a little bit of feedback from you about your previous experience. So first of all, we're going to think about the people who have led and managed you, who did a really good job, the people that inspired you, the people that motivated you to want to get out of bed in the morning and go to work. What short phrases or words could you use to describe the good leaders and managers that you've had in the past? So if you can start typing away, I hope you've got your typing fingers on. Any words or phrases that pop into your head that would describe the working practices, the behaviours, the traits of excellent leaders that you have experienced. Talk to me. Right, what have we got coming through here? Let me see. Right, get to the bottom of the list. Celebrated my success, invested in me, led by example, trusted, listened with honest willingness, encouraging freedom, empowered, communicates with the team regularly. Oh, we've got loads of fantastic things coming in. Listens and delivers. Wonderful. Right. Now, let's go to the other side. Let's think about the people who led and managed you, who did not do such a great job. They demotivated you. They made you not want to get out of bed in the morning and go to work for them. Think about those people and give me some words and phrases that describe the poor leaders that you have experienced. Here we go. Took credit for we've got loads of fantastic ones. Micromanagement seems to be coming up quite a lot. Demotivates me, one rule for one rule for another. Overbearing, micromanagement. I'll look into that. That's a good one. Immaturity, micromanagement, again, intimidated. I need to work 4 times as hard to get half the distance. Fantastic. Thank you so much for those comments. Right. I've been doing this job a long time, and I've been asking those questions a long time. So we've been canvassing all of our learners, the people who were going through our programs. And what we did was we put some word clouds together, which I think largely resemble the comments that you have just been given to me. So this is the word cloud that we created from the positive managers, the traits and behaviors of positive leaders. They give constructive feedback. They are supportive. They are visionary. They empower me. They inspire me. They are consistent. They were the biggies that came through, the ones that appeared quite a lot. And then around the edges, we've got some of the smaller ones. They coach me. They support my development. They give me responsibility, include me in decision making. They are fair. They give clear direction. They enable me, but they set boundaries. Then we did the word cloud for the other ones, the not so great ones. And there it is. I think it would have been a bigger word cloud had you been doing it. The micromanagement would have been a much bigger word, probably stage and center in the beginning, in the middle of there. But what we've got here, other words, we've got inflexible, we've got bullying, takes the credit, they are rude, they don't listen, they are inconsistent, they are critical, they shout, aggressive, hold you back, weak, unclear with feedback, have favorites, controlling. Oh, the list goes on and on and on. So, putting ourselves in the mindset, let's go back to the positive one first. And let's think about the impact that leaders can have. If you've got a good leader who does all those fantastic things, they inspire you, they create a vision, they support you, they develop you, then what you get back is really positive. Good leaders motivate their teams. And because they are motivated, the teams become more productive. People enjoy coming to work for you if you're a good leader. We get the absolute best out of our team. People feel trusted and they trust you. And over a very short period of time, what that does is it builds the confidence of the team. And within that team, there is mutual respect. It feels like a great place to work. The impact of bad leaders. What they do is they demotivate the team. And I can cast my mind back. I was quite young when I had my worst ever leader. I think I was 19 or 20. It's a very long time ago now. But I left the employment of this person utterly destroyed. My confidence left me. They left me feeling as though I had no value. I didn't work hard for that person. I was in fear of them most of the time, and my productivity was very low. What we tend to see in bad leaders is the barometers of effectiveness in the workplace start to change. And that is absenteeism goes up because people, if they are feeling just a little bit off, they're not going to get out of bed and come to work for you. They're going to stay at home. We're creating this toxic environment in which people don't want to work. And that in turn results in higher staff turnover. Why would you stay if you could go and get another job somewhere else with somebody that actually supports you and values you? And so what is then created throughout the whole of the team with bad leaders is a lack of respect across the team, and most importantly, for the leader. So you can do an awful lot of good as a leader. You can do an awful lot of damage. And I sit here speaking to you with the experience of being led by somebody who was fantastic. He was my boss when I worked in the banking and finance sector. He was very much a coaching style of leadership. He supported and he developed me. And if I could go back and find him again, I would like to shake him by the hand and say thank you, because what he created was a person that can think for herself, that is confident. And ultimately, he was the person that inspired me to go and start my own training business. And I'd love to say thank you to him. I did see the worst leader I ever had on my television one day, and I was reaching for the nearest heavy object to throw at the television because 20 something years later, just the sound of her voice made me feel physically sick. She took me straight back to that space where I had no confidence. So you can be a good leader, you can be a bad leader. What we want to try and develop is an understanding of what ethical leadership is. So this is the definition. Ethical leaders give way to their employees by inspiring, developing, and creating a culture of trust and respect. And as I was going through my slides, preparing myself for starting today's session, I was reminded of a newspaper article that I've read recently whilst I was on holiday. And it was a gentleman who owned his own business, and he was complaining about his employees. He said he was sick and tired of them asking for time off for themselves, for their family, for their children, because they'd got things going on in their lives. And I messaged a comment online to this article saying, actually, when I give to my team, if they've got things going on in their lives that mean they can't concentrate at work because they've got stress going on, if I give them some time to go and sort their problem out, then what I get back is motivation and loyalty in abundance, because I gave to them, they give it back to me more. And that's really what ethical leadership is all about. So what are the principles of ethical leadership? We need to create an environment which feels fair. Now, please don't get me wrong. I am not talking about allowing people to do whatever they want and to not perform at the required standards. That's not what ethical leadership is. Ethical leadership is about creating boundaries, guidelines, policies, procedures that tell people what the rules of engagement are, and they are then applied fairly and consistently to everyone, so that people know that they are going to be held to account, but they take that responsibility. And what we create with accountability is a sense of ownership. This is a feeling that I want to give to the team. I am accountable, so is everybody else, and fairness is consistently applied to everyone. What I do with my team is I trust them. I trust them to do their job. There's a reason why I employed them in the first place. There's a reason why they became part of my team, because the knowledge, the skills, the experience, and the competencies they have brought them to me. And I gave them that job to do, and I'm going to trust them to get on with it. I will be there if they need me, and I will be honest with them about situations and share information as honestly and as often as I can. What I want to create in my team is a feeling of equality, equity. Everybody is just as important as everybody else. We are all cogs in the machine. Nobody's more important. We have equity across the team, and create a feeling of mutual respect. And with that, we create an environment in which people feel safe, that their well-being is important to the leaders of that team. And when you create that environment, what you get back is motivation and productivity. It goes beyond just what you will get within your team. It goes wider than that. It goes out to the organization as a whole. And if ethical leadership is applied organization-wide, then what we start to see are the image of your brand is well recognized. If this is a nice place to come and work, word gets around. You will get higher levels of staff morale. People will feel happy in their workplace, and it will have a positive cultural environment around it. I can remember, some years ago now, we were working in partnership with another organisation, and they were coming in to do an audit of the work that we carried out for them. And one of the young ladies from their team came out to conduct the audit. And we got to the end of it, and everything was passed, everything was great. And as she was leaving, she said to me, "I've had such a lovely day. It feels so nice in your office. If you've ever got any jobs going, will you bear me in mind?" Anyway, we did. We gave her a job, and she stayed with us for years. So what we got was loyalty from my staff. The people who worked for me for 15, 20 years, some of them, stayed in the team. They were loyal. And because of that, the customers picked it up as well. And we got a lot of customer loyalty. We worked with customers for nearly 20 years, some of our longest standing customers. That means recruiting people is easy. Word gets around. If you create an environment where people want to come and work, they will flock to you. It becomes more than just about the package that you offer, the finances and the benefits. It becomes about feeling valued. I want to be part of this team. And it makes people want to stay. And then ultimately, if all that's working really well, what you will get is investment. People will be attracted to your organization. So just now starting to think about how we apply emotional intelligence into the leadership role. The definition of emotional intelligence, according to the Oxford English Dictionary, is there on the screen for you to read. The capacity to be aware of, control, and express one's emotions and handle interpersonal relationships. And these are the important words: judiciously and empathetically. Well, that's the dictionary definition. What does it actually mean in practice, and what does it mean in the leadership role? Well, what it means is that we as leaders need to have the ability to adapt. We need to be able to flex and change on a day-to-day basis, because what happens on one day with this team of people tomorrow may be entirely different, and the way that I approach leading that team in different circumstances will need to change. So that is being able to read the environment, read my people, and apply the appropriate style of leadership in any given situation. And that requires emotional intelligence, the ability to adapt and flex and change the way that we do things to suit the environment and to suit the people that we're working with. And some of the things that impact on our choice of leadership styles are there on the screen. So the first thing to take into consideration when you are building your leadership style and applying your leadership practice is to think about the values of your organization. What do they say about the way they expect their leaders and their managers to behave in those roles of responsibility? I'm working for an organization at the moment, and one of their values is compassion. And I say that, that is compassion, not just to the people who you provide service to, but to your employees and to your team members. It applies to everyone. So have a look at the values of the organization. What does that say to you in terms of the way that we should be behaving in that leadership role? The next two sort of go together. The type of work that you are involved in and the level of compliance required within that type of work. If work is incredibly dangerous, if a lot of legal compliance is required, if health and safety is a risk, an issue, then what we might need to do is apply slightly tighter controls in higher risk situations. Where we've got lower levels of compliance, where we can apply a little bit more freedom and a bit more creativity. If the role isn't health and safety critical, then we can be a little bit more adaptable and a bit more flexible. We then need to take into consideration the people who are in our team. How confident and how competent are they? Somebody who is new to your team is going to be feeling a lot less confident in the role, and they haven't had time yet to build their experience and to develop those competencies. So you would apply more support and more leadership to a person with lower competence and confidence, to somebody that has been there for forever and knows what they're doing. They can do the job with their eyes closed. We would apply a different style of leadership to that person. Then we've got the personal preferences of the individuals that you work with. How do they like to be led and managed? I'm one of the people that likes to, do you know what, I just leave me alone, I can do it. And if I make a mistake, I will fess up to it and hold my hands up. I don't need my hand holding, I'm fine. However, I have worked with people in my team who wanted a little bit more support from me. They wanted that guidance, they wanted reassurance. And so I had to adapt my natural style to be a little bit more supportive and a little bit more hand-holding for those people. And then finally, we have what happens during a period of crisis. So let me introduce you to this next model. This is taken from a model that was devised by two gentlemen, Tannenbaum and Schmidt, and it's called the continuum of leadership. And that word continuum means that there is no absolute destination. It is a continually moving thing. It ebbs and it flows. And what we have to do is get the balance right between the amount of control that we apply to our team and the amount of freedom that we allow them to have, to think for themselves, to make decisions, to take responsibility. A lot of you, when I asked for feedback at the beginning, put in the bad leadership style, micromanagement. It was the most popular one from you. So let's have a look at this model and let's figure out where micromanagement is on it. It is way over on the left-hand side. So in the light blue area, this is the use of authority by the manager. And micromanagement is an incredible amount of authority, almost total control, which in most jobs doesn't feel very nice. We don't like feeling checked on, watched all the time, controlled tightly everything that we do. We like a bit more freedom. However, there are some situations and circumstances where a lot of authority is the right thing to do. If, for example, you worked in the armed forces, that's quite a controlled environment because it's health and safety critical. Also, in periods of crisis, difficult situations, managing people through periods of unsettling change, sometimes we need to use a little bit more authority in those situations just to get people through that crisis. You can have your freedom back once we've got to the other side. So there are situations and circumstances where a lot of control is appropriate, but not many, and
Awesome.
should be used sparingly.
I'm just going to
Sorry, somebody's got their microphone on. There we go. Thank you, Monica. Okay. The other side of the balance, if we go completely to the right-hand side, this is complete and utter freedom. So there are no rules, no regulations, no policies, no procedures, no controls. And that is also not something that you should use regularly. We need some good control. So what is good control? A job description, service level agreements, key performance indicators, policies, procedures, the rules of engagement, setting performance objectives. These are all good control. So people know where they stand, they know what is expected of them, and they've got clear boundaries. Freedom is the ability then to go away and do your job with a bit of support if you need it. So research has shown that about 25% control, 75% freedom is the most motivational style of leadership. That's the one that people respond to best. So be prepared to adapt and change to the situation and the people who are around you, but work towards giving people their freedom. Let them run, let them take responsibility. And that brings with it this feeling of ownership and accountability, which are key principles of ethical leadership. So what can we do to create an environment in which people can thrive? We need to have these things in place. First of all, open communication. Creating development opportunities for the people in your team so that they can feel that they can move forwards and you support them in that. Include your team in your decision making. Just because you've got the hat on that says boss doesn't mean you've got the best ideas. These are the people who work day to day, and consult with them. Be considerate of the well-being of the people in your team. Your emotional intelligence will tell you when something isn't right. And sometimes we need to give people a little bit of space and a little bit of time just to get through the difficulties of life. Listen to your team. Listen to what they've got to say. Be fair and consistent in the application of any boundaries and guidelines that are in place. Give people the credit when they do a great job, but when it goes wrong, you are the one that should take the blame. You should be accountable for the mistakes of your team, not blame them. And what we do is we make the responsibility for achievement everybody's responsibility. And when we do that, people will stand up and work towards it. So I'm approaching the end of my half hour. I can't believe how fast that has gone. But what I wanted to just suggest are some places that you can go with this. I've been talking at you for half an hour. Reflect on your leadership behaviours. Everybody found it easy to send me in what good looks like and what bad looks like. Is it quite as easy to look yourself in the mirror and say, okay, I need to review what I'm good at, but also where I fall down? Put some development plans in place for you to become the best self in your leadership role. What do you need to change? Do we need to be perhaps a little bit more adaptable and flexible? Could we give a bit more freedom, a bit more responsibility? One thing I would advise you to go and have a look at, and I find this gentleman's work quite interesting. Daniel Goleman is the man that wrote the book, Emotional Intelligence. And he has created a model called the 6 Styles of Leadership. You can go online, you can have a look at it, and there is a little test that you can do, an online test. That really does take emotional intelligence and place it very firmly in the leadership role by saying that there are different ways to lead in different situations on different days, and we need to be able to adapt. The best leaders are flexible and adaptable. They use different leadership styles in different situations. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me this afternoon. If anybody has any questions, I'd be very happy to take any.
Sarah Brooks, that was absolutely amazing. Love the leadership incentive. I believe you're going to be with us in Chicago, September 25th. Is that correct?
No, that's not me. I'm not traveling on that day, Rob, I'm afraid. No.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were coming to one of our conferences. Well, we need to get you booked for one of our conferences because Absolutely. That was an amazing session.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So for more information about Sarah, as you said, you can chat with her.